The child that is born, very fundamental question. Why must anything like education apply to him? The child that is born, why must anything like education apply to him? Why must this word, with all the activity that it encompasses, be there at all? Kid is born. Why must there be any education?
So that he can act like the world wants him to act.
I was reading about this father-son pair that has been recently found in Vietnam. When the Vietnam War was on, then the father escaped with the son into the deep jungles. The father was an army man. He saw the rest of his family being killed in front of his eyes. With the one son that was just a few months old, he escaped to the jungle. Now 40 years after the war, these two have been rescued from the jungle. And there are videos of the son who is now 40 plus. And if you look at him, you will find that some element of humanness is probably missing. Just because he was not in contact with the society. It's very obvious that the fellow that is born must be first brought up to the society. Are you getting it? It's extremely important that he be given languages, that he be given a past, and that can be given only by the society. It's a process of socialization. It must happen. Society is not totally the bad thing we sometimes make it out to be. No society and you'll have a human being like that. After all, what is born is not much different from an animal. So it's very obvious that one of the primary functions of education is to bring the child, the individual, at par with society. He must be given knowledge, he must be supplied knowledge. There is no doubt about it. However, if education stops there, then there will be a problem, because when you are being made social, you are also being in some sense taken away from yourself. The process of socialization is very important to lead a healthy life, but it also takes you away from yourself. The man that I am referring to is ignorant but not artificial. Please appreciate this. You can look at his videos on YouTube. This man is ignorant but not Today, if he is socialized, his ignorance in terms of knowledge, in terms of absence or presence of knowledge, his ignorance will be taken care of, but for sure a certain artificiality will creep in. So, the first step of education, which is to bring you at par with the society, the first step of education, which is to bring you at par with the society, which is to make you a social being, and that's the reason why somebody said man is a social animal. That first step of education is very, very necessary, but what does that do? It takes you a little away from yourself. No animal is away from itself. No child is away from itself. But the well-educated man is quite likely to have multiple layers of personality, a divided being, divided mind that is, and hence be away from himself. Operating from a, what does it mean to be away from yourself? You are operating from a false center, which is not you. You are operating from some layer that you have acquired externally. Obviously, the first task of education is to make a social being out of us. And we cannot underestimate the importance of this. Before we go on to talk of the other functions of education, first of all, let's fully appreciate this function of education. That had we not been educated the way we have been, had we not been given knowledge in languages, mathematics, history, geography, science, then we would be living a very genuine life, genuine in terms of natural, genuine not in terms of self-aware, genuine in terms of natural. We would have been living a very natural life, but that natural life would have been similar to the natural life of animals. No fakeness, completely natural, but very little self-awareness. No fakeness. What is guaranteed is animals are not fake. No animal fakes.
It means animals cannot have false center.
They cannot have false center. But then they are not aware of the real center either.
So they are incapable of.
They are incapable, yes. But what's important is they do not have a false center. That much is assured. That much is assured. First of all, a false center needs to be created. It's inevitable. That is the first function of education.
My question is that why animals don't have a false center? Because
To that extent they may have. But then the social processes, to the extent we understand animals, do not appear to be very strong in animals. No animal sects have been known to fight each other on the basis of ideology. You don't have Hindu animals and Christian animals. They do almost as they please. But yes, you are right. To some extent, especially in advanced mammals, there might be social forces at work. It's possible. So, the first function of education is to create a false center. It does not directly create a false center. It aims to give the child knowledge about all that human beings have learnt till date, which is appreciable. This is what people over the centuries across countries have discovered, found, and let us please give you that knowledge. And is that not important? Is that not important? Would it be better if we were to reinvent the wheel today? Do you want that? Would it be better if we are left with no Newton, no Kepler, no Maxwell, no Einstein? Yeah, would that be better? And you are left on your own, that be your own light, find out things for yourself. Why should you read what a Newton or an Einstein has said? Why must you read all that? Be your own light. Go ahead. First of all, let's feel grateful for what education has given us. This language, these clothes, they are all products of technology. This audio that we have been listening to. And we are yet not even talking of computers, the advanced things, very basic things. Food. We appreciate the role of education in the generation of food, right? We do that. You didn't find out on your own which particular vitamins and proteins does a particular kind of vegetable contain. Left to yourself, would you be able to find out which vitamins are or proteins are deficient in potato? If you are anemic, would you be able to find out on your own that you must take green leafy vegetables? How do you know all this today?
Because somebody found it.
Somebody found it out and supplied this knowledge to you. Am I right?
Yes.
If today we are sitting here with healthy bodies and a brain that can probably act intelligently, it's because of the collective knowledge gathered by centuries of human effort. Do we see this? Do we see this? And all that is social. That cannot come to you without the society. Take away the society and you have taken away knowledge as well. Because who will give you knowledge? Who will give you knowledge? Knowledge, by its very definition, is social. What is social? That somebody else is giving to you. Knowledge is external, social, in the sense that somebody else provides it to you. And that dimension of education in which it provides you with external knowledge is extremely important. You take that away and any possibility of human awakening has also been taken away.
One question. Basically, there is a difference between knowledge, external knowledge, and language, and all these things, and the self-image that society gives us.
It's well-nigh impossible to separate the two. It's almost impossible to separate the two. Let me give an example. If you are being given knowledge about what is beneficial for the body, you have a subject called biology. Don't you have a subject called biology? Now the book of biology does not contain any ideologies. But I am claiming to you that the biology book is actually deeply ideologically ridden. Tell me how. Yes, in the biology book there is surely a certain ideology. Tell me how. Society may not want to give you self-image or thoughts about yourself, but it will end up doing so. It is inevitable. And the biology book is a very good example of that. Tell me how.
It tells you how important your body is.
Wonderful. So, in reading the biology book, you have already been given a self-image that you are the body. Now, how do you separate the two? How do you separate the two? No teacher ever came to the class and said, you are the body. But in being taught biology, you have been given an implicit message that you are the body. After all, you are being taught the body. Are you being taught with equal importance about the lakes and the mountains and things? And you are being taught about the human body with so much emphasis. Are you also being taught about the scorpion's body with equal emphasis? So already there is a message containing self-image that has been delivered to you unknowingly. That's why I say that is inevitable that the process of knowledge transfer will also contain an image transfer. It is inevitable. There is a subject called geography. The subject is just geography. Tell me, how many of you have read about the provinces of China in the subject geography? How many provinces does China have? It's geography. And political geography that we read must have information regarding the politics everywhere in the world. But you are being told about the provinces of, the rivers of, the mountains of, the implicit messages.
India is my country. I am limited to this.
Now, no geography book ever contains an ideological explicit message. But implicitly, you are being constantly told that you are
A divided being.
That's a limitation. I mean, that's something that is being deliberately done to inculcate patriotism.
That will happen because you see, knowledge will always be given to you in a limited way. The teacher, the syllabus setter, the curriculum designer is deciding which chunk of knowledge to pick and give to you. And how will he choose what knowledge to give to you? Based on his patriotism, based on his religion, based on his ideology. If a countrywide board is deciding this, how will it decide? Based on what is good for the country. So the process of knowledge gathering will inevitably result in identity formulation. It is inevitable. One must not even try to fight it. One can minimize it. Yes, that must be done. Textbooks must be free of ideological baggage. That must be done. We must take care that it happens to the minimum. But it will never be zero. Never be zero. Never be zero.
I mean, if in addition to that, awareness like the programs that we conduct, those are being done from a very early age, will there still be?
You see, self-awareness develops with seeing what is going on. You cannot understand what is going on till you have been given the software to deal with it. This talk that you just heard is a 1972 talk. And I just wondered, why is he referring to India and Pakistan repeatedly? And then it occurred to me, oh, it's less than a year after the formation of Bangladesh. Are you getting it? An India-Pakistan war will mean nothing to you unless you know what India is, you know what Pakistan is. You understand, you have been given a dose, you are able to comprehend. So the process of this social education will always be first. Will always be first.
So, sir, conditioning is inevitable. Right?
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. It can be minimized. One must have the intention to keep it to a minimum, but it's bound to happen.
One cannot have intentions to keep it to minimum because he's not choosing to tell you that body is most important. Choosing का मतलब आएगा कि I have another option also. If I have been told about India only, with great intentions, I'm telling you what has been told, and that's the only.
But you know, there are textbooks that are laced with poison. There are particular neighboring countries where now it has been tried to ascertain why terrorism grew to such an extent. And one of the fundamental reasons was textbooks. So that is the reason one must try to keep it to a minimum, because there are places where we have tried to maximize it. The textbooks themselves have been laced with poison. About Jews, about Christians, about Hindus, about India.
It's happening all over the world.
It's happening even in some of states of India. You are trying to deliberately put stuff in textbooks that will indoctrinate, condition the child from a very young age. So that's the reason I'm saying one must try to minimize it, because we have tried to maximize it as well.
even these days by putting special emphasis on English medium and English language, they're creating a very
I was looking at a moral science book, 5th standard moral science book. अब उसमें पिक्चर्स आने लगी, पहले टेक्स्ट होता था, पिक्चर्स ज़्यादा होने लगी। उसमें आपको एग्जैक्ट आप 5वीं में ही, 4वीं-5वीं में आपको पता लग जाता है कि आपकी मॉम क्या काम करेगी। What if you're a girl, what are you supposed to do? Dad.
See what kind of, all you want to say is, that M stands for mother. But when you are representing the mother pictorially, what is the mother doing? Cooking or taking care of the baby. Now, all you had tried to say was M for mother. But the picture of the mother shows mother taking care of a baby. Message has already gone. This is inevitable.
So are we saying that a child belonging to a rural background and never been to a school, and a child in an urban background and going to schools, colleges, the child from the rural background has a better chance to be close to that real self because he is less corrupted?
So, but in villages also.
अभी इसमें हम ये कह रहे हैं कि we know the source of conditioning. Now it would be unfair to say we know the source of conditioning because we never.
We are assuming that all conditioning is taking place in the classroom itself. The rural child who is not going to the classroom might be getting a very heavy dose elsewhere. TV, radio, just talking to others.
But these things are available to that urban boy also.
So
his chances, are we saying that his chances are better than
nothing can be said. Nothing can be said. All that is certain is that one education that brings science and technology and language and history is very, very important. The first step is to pay respect to it and feel grateful to it. That is first thing. Second, any kind of knowledge that is brought to you will inevitably create a self-image and hence a false center. Third, additionally, we have said the ones who are bringing this education, this social education to us, must be careful to purge the knowledge of any ideological baggage as much as possible, while we realize that it is not possible to completely rid it of anything, because whatever you do will always be coming from your own mind, which is limited, and hence despite your best intentions you are necessarily going to condition the child. You may be the best educationist in the world, yet when you are providing history lessons to the child, it's inevitable that his mind will be conditioned in some way or the other. There is no doubt about it.
So, but a question may come that why should I know about this self? The knowledge is being given to us so that what our forefathers have done, we can learn from that, and so that we can make progress.
Yes, because we have a body, and this body needs to live for some number of years, and so that it can live nicely, you need certain knowledge.
So why to know about the self? Because this knowledge is.
We have not yet come to that. We have not yet come to that. We are just examining why must we have all the, what kind of knowledge?
Outside knowledge.
All the external, the social knowledge. They are all external. I mean, you see, science and art is a particular label given to external knowledge by human beings. The fact is they are all external. Starvation is bad. This is biological conditioning. Non-vegetarianism is bad. This is. You don't get anything to eat, the body will tell you go and eat. You don't get anything to eat, your body will tell you go and eat. This is some nice odor comes to you and you feel attracted towards that food. This is so the first step is to realize that the current education system does serve a purpose. Do we do that? Yes, it's very important to realize that. Now what has happened? After around 10 years of education, the kid is 12 or 14 years of age. Right? Now what has happened? Where does he stand? Where does he stand? 10 years is a long time. Probably every day of his life he has been educated, and 10 years is a sufficiently long time. The kid is not 12 or 14 years of age. What is the kid like? What is the kid like now? 10 years of education.
So he's stuffed with things.
Stuffed with things and
Too full.
full. Quite full. Quite full. And
So like
Kid is the stuffing.
he is the stuffing, all right.
He's
Yes.
different.
Plus maybe the physical being, which let's also say a couple of good things about him.
That
He
stuff-
knows a lot.
Stuffing is not bad.
He can teach you how to install Windows
Miniature.
on your laptop. Very few of us can do that. Very few of us can actually, in fact some of us don't even know how to download nice apps on our smartphones. That 13-year-old will know all of that. He will know a lot, and that's useful, not really bad. Isn't that useful? It's not really all worthless. At the same time, what has he become? What has he become? Now he's 13 or 14 and he's loaded with everything external, which has given him, first of all, a healthy body. Bodies are healthier today than they were at any point in time in human civilization. We talk a lot about starvation and such things, but the fact is that the average individual across the world, not in any one country, across the world, the average individual today lives longer than he has ever lived in human history. Today we are more disease free. The earth is more disease free than it has ever been in its history. Certain diseases, you don't hear of them anymore. Plague, polio, where are they? We are not talking of mythical stories. We are talking of historical evidence. Since the time history has been written, man has never lived longer than he lives today. A clear proof of that is also the way the world's population has grown. Do you understand that since the beginning of history, which is no earlier than around 4,000 or 5,000 years from today, till around 300 years from today, the world's population did not grow by much. All the growth, all the explosion in the world's population that we are seeing has happened over only the last 200 or 100 years. Why didn't it grow earlier? There were epidemics, there were diseases. You must have heard of the Black Plague. 800 years back, it wiped out almost all of the population of certain countries of Europe. And that was constantly happening. You had no antibiotics. You had no understanding of how a particular virus works. No science, no technology. So this 13-year-old is well equipped to deal with a lot. It has been guaranteed now that his entire life, material cannot make a fool of him. His biology books have told him that if your body develops such and such symptoms, it means that you lack such and such vitamins. Nature cannot make a fool of him. So many of the superstitions now cannot come to him. You cannot go to him and say that there is an eclipse today, which means that a particular demon is about to consume the sun or the moon. So you better hide in your home and don't get out. An old man can be made to believe that, but that 13-year-old will never believe that. He has been fortified by his education. And that's a beautiful thing that his education has given him. He is now resistant towards a lot of rubbish. Towards a lot of rubbish, he is now rubbish proof. You cannot make a fool of him. In some ways. However, there are other ways. We'll look at them. Yes.
Two things are going on. One is the conflict of division within ourselves. Fear.
How does that relate to what we are saying right now? What we are trying to understand is, what does the social education give the child?
Social education basically is alright.
But that's what we are saying. That's what we are saying. It's not all right, sir. First of all, let's be deeply grateful to it. It's not just all right. You see this tea, you see this light, you see this fan. You understand the importance of these in our life, the language, and how can we not appreciate them? I've often found the otherworldly man to be quite contemptuous of science, as if, and being a science student myself, an engineer, I understand the rigor that is ingrained in science. It is not some superstition. Scientists work really hard, really religiously to find the truth of the material world. Let's first be grateful to them, very, very grateful to them.
So, Einstein
So-
theory, atom bomb,
Are you affected by the atom bomb?
very much in Japan. It is
Were you there in Japan?
but I
This light is coming through nuclear power. What kind of mind it is that is talking of the explosion that happened in Japan in 1945, but is not grateful for this electricity that is being generated by nuclear power? What kind of mind is it that looks only at the evils of science? The fact is, without science, probably we would have not lived up to this age itself. So there would have been no one in this room to talk of spirituality and the rest of it. In our childhood, we were vaccinated. Is there anybody who has not had a disease which, if left untreated, would have become fatal? I am constantly on medicines which, if I do not take for which if I do not take for 2 months, I would probably be no more. Forget about emancipation and other world. This world will be no more there. When India got independence, the average Indian would live not even 40 years. Today, sir, you would be happily 50 plus or 60 plus. How can you just not be grateful to the role of medicine and all the rigorous scientific research that has gone into it and just recall the atom bomb? Let's first be deeply grateful to science. And we are living on science day in and day out. Show me one part of your life that science does not affect. Manish is wearing specs. Do you just understand how much of it rigor it takes to design and manufacture a spec like this? Please, do you first of all understand what effort and rigor it takes to produce glass of this quality through which he can clearly see? She is wearing a plate inside her arm, otherwise she won't be sitting here. I am on medicines.
So that's why Rand says that ego is the fountainhead of.
Obviously. So this first stage of education is extremely, extremely important. Let's not undervalue it. Let's not at all undervalue it. Berating this form of education would mean that you have eroded the very base of life. This part of education, sir, you call as Avidya classically. Even your Upanishads say that death can be overcome only through Avidya. The Upanishadic seer was wise enough to say that death can be overcome only through Avidya. Avidya, when he says Avidya, he does not disparage Avidya. He is not contemptuous of Avidya. He says death can be overcome only through Avidya. He says Avidya is very important. Avidya is extremely important. There is no day when I do not Google for something. Now Googling is all obviously Avidya. You are getting external knowledge. Why is that not important? And unreal, please understand, unreal only in comparison to the real. Otherwise it is very real. Otherwise there is nothing wrong with it. You can call it unreal only because something more real exists. Going to the more real is alright, but that does not mean that we do not value what appears to be real. Sir, there are three kinds of truths. Again, classically. One, which is imaginary. Second, which is factual. Third, which is. The first kind of education brings us from the lowest level to the middle level. It brings us from imagination to the fact. And coming to the fact is very important before you move to the truth. It's very difficult to move to the truth without coming to the fact. So, for not one moment, let us have a cavalier attitude towards science and technology. Not one moment. Let's not forget that the country where you have the maximum enrollment in philosophy courses, where the maximum number of genuine doctorates in philosophy, even in religion, are being given, is also the topmost country in science and technology. You know which country I am referring to. And it's not a coincidence. You have to move strongly to level 2 and be camped there before you can launch yourself to step 3. A bypass is possible, but that bypass is rare. India has witnessed many such bypasses. But that bypass is difficult. First of all, you have to be free from ignorance, imagination, superstition, and only then you can be spiritual. Countries that are lacking in science and technology are also the countries where you see the most perverse forms of religion. Don't we see that around? Countries that are completely behind in science and technology are also the countries where you see the most depraved forms of religion. Don't we see that? And don't you see a clear link? That unless science comes, religion also cannot come. Unless the first form of education comes, the second form will become very difficult. Not everybody can be a Kabir, that I am uneducated and yet I am evolved. A Kabir is a rare happening. Most people would first need to be freed of their concepts, their imaginations, and only then they can take the plunge ahead.
सर एक क्वेश्चन है मेरा कि हम ये आमतौर पे सुनते हैं या कुछ मालूम भी है हम लोगों को कि कुछ पक्षी बर्ड्स एक जगह से दूसरी जगह माइग्रेट हो जाते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल कि 5,000 किलोमीटर यात्रा कर देते हैं और एक कंट्री से दूसरे कंट्री में मौसम के लिहाज से ट्रांसफर हो जाते हैं, माइग्रेट हो जाते हैं. उनकी लाइफ, एक बर्ड की लाइफ कितनी हो सकती है कि उनको ये पता है, कोई बताता नहीं है उनको. Nobody tell them.
They are told. They are very clearly told this is what is called as
Conditioning.
biological conditioning. There is nothing great about it. They are very well programmed. It's as much of biological conditioning as me first checking whether the temperature of this tea is suitable, is fine.
Who tells the destination?
Hmm?
Destination.
They don't have any destination in mind. Every moment they are moving from a low temperature area. They make this movement in winters. Let's say the Siberian crane. So it will start from Siberia and it will start moving towards a point that has a higher temperature, which is more comfortable to it. And this journey ultimately brings it to a point where the temperature is just optimum. When it reaches there, it alights, it comes down. It does not have a destination in mind.
Genetic.
Were the earth to change, they would stop coming to Bharatpur, and it has already happened. Now, because of global warming, certain birds are not coming to Bharatpur. Why? Because the temperatures of Bharatpur are now available at certain places in China. So they get down in China. Why come to Bharatpur when China is hot enough? This also proves that they never had a destination in mind. All they want is a comfortable place. So when they get the comfortable place elsewhere, do we know this? That the Bharatpur bird resort does not attract as many birds today as it used to because of global warming. And many other reasons as well, but global warming is one of the reasons. The birds say, why come here? There are several other places also which are quite warm now. They go there.
Due to intellect.
Intellect is not a part of biological conditioning. As far as biological conditioning goes, we are exactly the same. Sir, that is the reason why you perform experiments on rabbits before using things on yourself. Why else are all the rabbits and the mice being killed? Because biologically you are the same. Have you ever thought of this? That why do you perform all the experiments? Why all the labs are using mice and guinea pigs? Because biologically the apparatus is the same or similar at least. If not same, similar.
So then why human beings have that capability to rise above?
It's not because of biology. It's not because of biology. As far as biology goes, we are the same.
So sir, why not animals? So they don't.
Huh.
You cannot say Buddha.
We'll come to that. But it's not because of biology. It's not because of biology.
There
Sir,
must be.
you can correct a mental disorder through counseling. You cannot correct a heart disease through counseling. If your leg is fractured and the leg of a dog is fractured, exactly the same processes are going to correct both of you. Counseling will not work. We are talking of biological conditioning. We are talking of cell multiplication. We are talking of the way the heart beats. We are talking of the way the hair grow. That is exactly the same in you and in other creatures that are born. There is no difference.
And so
Why? We want to feel racially superior or something?
that's why it is heartbreaking.
Huh?
Sir, for example, the right education, which the Krishnamurti is saying, is something extraordinary.
We have not yet come to that. We are right now looking at the first leg of education and seeing its importance. We are right now looking at the first leg itself and seeing its importance. You may not feel threatened of the demon that comes on the day of eclipse, but you will feel threatened
From the placement.
of the placement process, or some aliens that can come from another galaxy. Now, what is the difference between the asur that can consume the sun and that alien that can come from another universe? And you have so many movies, and the kids are greatly delighted in watching them. Some kind of, what was that? Kaijus have come, and UFOs and what you call as science fiction. You look at the arbitrariness of this science and fiction going together. How can you have science and fiction going together? But then he'll be greatly interested in this. So, we have a very healthy 12 or 14-year-old in front of us. Physically healthy, mentally full of information, quite aware, Not only does he have knowledge, he also knows from where to acquire knowledge when needed. Yes? Yes? So everything is good. Should we stop here? Everything seems to be good. Now he can go on. Soon he will pass out from school and he can enter a medical college or an engineering college and get into competitions and jobs and do all the other stuff very efficiently because he has so much knowledge, so he's bound to be efficient. So does the story stop here? It seems a pretty healthy story till this point, doesn't it? Nothing is wrong with the story till this point.
If somebody tells me that to drive a car you have to push the clutch and accelerator और उसका पूरा एक channel मुझे समझा दिया जाए. So by the example we are taking, by 12-13 I would know how to drive the car. I would know how to drive the car. But with that the problem is if I stick with it, the use of driving skills is to reach somewhere. So problem is that we are in the car and we do not want to get off from it, and we keep driving it because we do not reach anywhere.
Go close to that kid. He is 12 or 14 years old. He has lots of information. He is physically healthy. He is probably physically more healthy than you or I ever were. Our calories were never counted. Our bodies were never scanned for 20 types of vitamins. And I suppose there are more types of vitamins in 20. Seeing exactly what is lacking, what is not. Even today, if our bodies are analyzed, probably each of us would be found deficient or excess in something or the other. That kid has everything firmly balanced. That shows on his skin. It glows like anything. He has a good height, nice weight. Everything seems to be alright with him. Go close to him.
Looking at this 10 or 12-year-old today, if I find him quite perfectly loaded with the information and all these things, a parallel thing has also happened with him. He's also captured things from the society, from the environment, from the parents, from the interactions, and parallelly he's already started to kind of fix things in life, that this is what I want to do, and why I want to do is totally external. I am not ready to pay equal attention to all my subjects. I am not ready to entertain myself with history or geography. I am more with physics or chemistry or science.
He is not looking at this. He is not yet, these thoughts are not yet coming to him. Let's give him a name. What's his name? Let's give him a name. Let's call him Happy. Alright? So his name is Happy. And Happy is what he appears to be. Happy. We are going close to him. Right? Happy is 14 years old now. Happy is 14 years old. Tell me something about Happy.
Happy is an aeroplane on a runway, moving very fast, but does not know how to fly.
How do you know that? Go close to him. Don't conceptualize. Go close to
He
him.
has already been a part of the process of competition where he's been told that number one is important. He has experienced it. He has felt bad when
You have been with Happy since 2 weeks now, so that you may closely observe him. You have been friendly to him, and you have spent a good, complete 2 weeks with him. What have you seen?
What layer of the society belongs to him?
The average layer, let's say middle class.
Sir,
He has had enough to eat and be nicely educated in some school.
So he has also accepted the things, these technological things. So just like another person who has accepted the superstitions.
Tell me something from his
You
life.
have
Give me an
very
event from his
You
life.
have very strong opinions.
He has quite strong
very
opinions.
strong opinions.
Like what did he say? Give me an event from his life. Did you see something in the last 2 weeks? What did you see?
क्योंकि when Happy is preferring to eat chicken burger, तब उसको बताया जाएगा कि don't eat chicken, it's not a food, it's an animal over the plate, dead animal, killed by a man. और एंड ऑल्सो टेक्निकली जो रिसर्च भी आई है कि नॉन वेजिटेरियनिज्म से ग्लोबल वार्मिंग भी कैसे बढ़ रहा है, तो हैप्पी इज क्वाइट इनसेंसिटिव। बोला होता होगा, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग का जब इफेक्ट आएगा तब तक तुम्हें मर के जा चुका होगा।
No, but then, burgers is something that even 80-year-olds are eating. Did you see something else that made you think that this guy is pretty insensitive?
I did not see him passing any time even with the gamla in the pots in the house, but he is more chipboard with the computers. He was more on FB, he was more on Google.
Is that likely?
More on TV
Is that
than
likely?
you're asked to read.
That's same. If I'm close to the computer all the time and I'm close to the books all the time, that's same. I'm close to the
No,
book
not the
all
books,
time.
not the books, the pot, the plant. The plant.
Happy
One thing
wanting
that
to
he's far more equipped to be something. उसके पास सब कुछ है, जैसे कहते हैं ना कि एक मस्त गाड़ी है जल्दी पहुंचने के लिए. He has got a good body in terms physique. He's equipped with everything which is needed to do something awesome, something great.
Does happy relate to the soil and to the clouds? It starts raining. What is rain to happy? What is rain to happy?
it is
More
also
often than
process
not,
of understanding.
nuisance that creates traffic jams. More often than not, rain to happy is just nuisance that creates traffic jams. What is soil for happy? Soil. What is soil to happy? Dirt. Something that
Sticks on his legs.
Sticks on his shoes, makes the house dirty, so he must keep it outside and he must be specific where he's walking.
What is the sun to happy?
It's not a heat and
Something
it's
that necessitates air conditioners. What are insects to happy? Do you really visualize happy carrying a few insects on his palm and gladly showing to everybody? You really visualize that? Yes?
Are we not categorizing him?
No, we are trying to look at him.
No.
Of course, this will involve a certain generalization. This will involve a certain. There would be 14 years old who would be very, very different from what we are seeing. But we have to generalize. But then we are not talking here about the exceptions. We are talking about the general drift of the society. The general direction that the society is taking.
Okay, so then if we look at it, then Mama's boy for sure, and he is close to the parents all the time because that's where he can nurture.
And in what sense is he close to the parents? Is he really close to the parents?
For sheer security, physical security. That's it.
Is he really close to the parents?
He knows that he has to please them because he wants gadgets.
Is he really close? Does he really know? Does he
needs
really
a
know
body care.
closeness? What is closeness? Does he know that?
It is like buying an apartment in a posh area so that you can buy good stuff easily. That's closeness also.
Superficial about things.
Does he know birth or death? Does he know birth or death?
Yes, he does. Birth is great celebration. Death is sadness because he is going to relatives.
Does he know birth or death really? Alright, he is 13 or 14. He has moved into adolescence.
सेक्सिस्ट भी नहीं होगा मतलब बहुत कम चांस है कि assault-
Sexist not in the way that people 30 years back were. Sexist not in that way, but in his own way he might be a big sexist.
कैसे?
You see, I have seen people, this generation, they are pretty cool about abortions.
And like one night stands and
Pretty cool about abortion. One night stands, I don't know what to say about them, but then abortion is a physical thing of suffering. It's a physical thing of suffering, and boyfriends do not take time in advising their girlfriends to just, drop it. There have been occasions when I have advised the people, what is it that you are talking? It's not that simple for a girl. It's not that, they'll say it's a 15-minute procedure we have read on the net. What's the big deal? It's a 15-minute thing. You have read on the net. Now, isn't this sexism? Isn't this sexism?
A closed outlook towards one's own sexuality. Means opposite
He would be very cool towards gays and lesbians.
And Happy wants to be a rebel.
Ah.
क्योंकि social
I am
pressure
somebody
ऐसा-
different, extraordinary, and I am a rebel.
Alright, let's look at hard evidence. Are there too many products in the market that are targeting happy?
Yes, McDonald's.
Just too many products in the market that are directly targeting happy?
If a company is targeting, they're targeting happy.
They're targeting happy. Now, what does that mean? Anshu just used the word vulnerable. It's obvious that this fellow does not have a mind of his own. He can be targeted. He can be targeted. Pretty strange situation. Happy has been given everything that others could give. Money, upbringing, education, physical security, everything that others could give has been given to Happy. And yet, Happy is so vulnerable. Alright, his body cannot be attacked by bacteria or viruses, but his mind is constantly being attacked. And Happy has no defenses. Happy has no defenses. What else do you see in Happy? Otherwise, how will we know him? The fact is, when we are saying come close to Happy, all I'm saying is, let's look at our lives. Each one of us is a Happy.
And JK here is very much true when he says that today securities, which are really no securities at all.
So there is a restlessness. He does not know what freedom is, yet something within him tells him that he is not free. Happy is restless. It's a pretty strange situation. In fact, there is a story by Tagore, Kabuliwala, in which he talks of the situation of boys who are in this age group. He says they are a very pathetic lot. They are neither kids nor men. Kids don't treat them as kids, men don't treat them as men, and they belong nowhere. They are sandwiched. Their voice breaks and it becomes a very ugly kind of voice. It's neither a man's voice, deep, husky, nor is it a kid's voice. Their face starts getting some hair here and there, so they can't mingle with the kids, but it isn't yet a full-grown beard, so they can't sit with the men. They don't belong anywhere and they are just left wondering. And that's what Happy is. He doesn't know what to do. And anybody, hence, because he doesn't know what to do, and hence anybody can take him for a ride. That's what happens to him. That's what happens to him. Now what must happen?
Isn't it great that he belongs to neither the kids zone nor the men's zone? And जो ड्यूरेशन है, वो साल है, वो अपने आप में जैसा अभी आपने बोला तो फिजिकली वो साथ यही बता रहे हैं कि you belong neither to that group nor to this one.
But he'll
वो belong करना चाहता है, वो चाहता है कि
we all have a tremendous need to belong. You may not belong that way, you may not belong that way, but you must then belong to yourself.
No, but what I'm saying is that this means that this is the only age where your birth is possible.
It is possible, yes, wonderful.
Only your birth is possible. उसके बाद उतना ही difficult होता जाएगा because you don't belong somewhere.
So Happy is standing at a very peculiar point. Very peculiar point. Now something must happen. The fundamentals of science have been provided to him. He knows enough history to make sense of the world around him. He understands his body. He knows how the society functions. Fundamentals of mathematics and economics are now known to him. Now what must happen? Happy is restless. Now what must happen? 10 years, 20 years down the line, nothing happens. Happy keeps moving, as lots of happies do. What do you see happening to Happy? Happy was 14 years back when we met him last. Happy is 34 years today when we are meeting him. Describe Happy. Describe Happy. He is 34 years old now.
Working in a corporate, wearing a tie and wearing a shirt.
He is wearing a tie.
Earning for his family.
He has a family.
He possibly
Happy now is a chain smoker.
Possibly is the low base.
Happy is a chain smoker. Happy has all the gadgets. Happy has a well-maintained wife. What's wrong? Happy seems quite well off. Nice things to say about Happy. Now I'm asking you, with that kind of a launch pad that he had at 14 years of age, a healthy body, decent money available to him, lots of information available to him, what could have happened? What was possible?
The other things as well.
What was possible? The highest was possible. The highest was possible. And what happened? What happened? Nothing. A hash of things. The base had been very, very well prepared by the social education. It had prepared the base quite nicely. Yet, as Kundan was saying, there was a lot of taxiing on the runway and failing to. Tragic. Absolutely tragic. Absolutely tragic. You have had people who knew so little about the world, yet they lived glorious lives. We had just mentioned Kabir. If you ask Kabir about the various bacteria, forget the bacteria. If you ask Kabir how many continents are there in the world, he will not know. Nobody in his time knew. Such an ignorant man. He does not even know how many continents are there in the world. And yet he attained to his fullest possibility, Kabir. Kabir was given nothing, yet he got what is the essence of life. And Happy was given everything. At the age of 14, Happy had the perfect launch pad. And yet nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Happy died in the cocoon.
Happy died in the cocoon. Happy was aborted. This is the point where the second birth should take place, so that you do not die in the cocoon. This is what Krishnamurti is referring to as real education. I found it important to spend a lot of time saying that calling it real education does not imply that the other education is worthless. That education is very, very, very important. Without that education, chances of you being available to this would diminish. It still can happen. You have had a Raidas who was a shoemaker, a Gora Kumhar who was a potter, a Kabir who was a weaver, a Christ who did practically nothing, some carpentry at max.
Sir, is it relative?
So relative to what?
Sir, real and non-real.
No, they are anyway present. The role of education is not to create really and false center so that if that's what you're saying, that unless the false is there, there can be no journey towards the real. No, that's not there. Because the false is anyway present. If not in the social form, then in the physical form it's anyway present. So it does not really need to be created. It's an inevitability. It's not a need. If someone says we need to have an ego, he is lying. He is misplaced. We have an ego, that does not mean we need to have an ego. Ego is inevitable. That does not mean that there is a need really. No.
There is one of the line where Osho is saying that ego is a need, ego is must.
Ego is a must in the sense that it will be there. Do what you may, it will be there.
Yes.
You cannot avoid it. Cannot avoid it. In that sense, it's an inevitability.
So the example that we took of happy, happy belongs to a family which is rich or upper middle class family. So we are neglecting the lower or the middle class family.
We can look at them. We'll have another version of happy. We'll have another version of happy. I am choosing to look at that happy because that fits in nice with the ambience here. That other happy we may not be able to relate to that much. But this happy we know. We know by face. We know his innards. We are talking of this happy because we are that. We don't.
We are planning for such.
Not planning. We have been that happy. We are that happy. So we can identify with him. We know him. We know him. He is very close to us. We see him all around. He is present in parts of our life. A niece, a nephew, a son, a daughter, the kid in the shopping mall, the kid next door. Don't we know happy? He is very close to us. The man in the mirror. Now what must happen? Now what must happen? What must happen? At this stage, 13, 14 years of age, what must happen? And remember, when you have talked of what is happening to him at 34, you have yet not looked at the more vicious possibilities. You have yet not imagined that he is the head of a company that spreads a lot of pollution and he bribes authorities so that he may keep spreading pollution. You have yet not mentioned that. You have yet not mentioned that he might be on the verge of a breakup with his wife. And there is a havoc that is being played with the kids' minds. We have yet not mentioned that. We have yet not mentioned that Happy is one of those who regularly contribute to office jams. We have yet not mentioned that Happy is a hiring manager who might be hiring more and more Happies and rejecting the other ones. The more vicious possibilities we have yet not talked of. World is full of that. I mean, look at the way the earth is feverish. Global warming. Who is contributing to it? More and more Happies. More and more Happies. Happy is intent upon buying a second flat that is built on land that was once agricultural. That was once agricultural, fertile land, and Happy is hell-bent upon buying an apartment there. Now Happy is unhappy and is contributing to unhappiness all around. Happy has become a nodal point of suffering. He is suffering and he is radiating suffering in every direction.